Okay, so just a quick, well, I don't know, 15-minute, is that quick? Video on removing the carb and reinstalling it. Here I'm putting in a JD jet kit, and I've seen a couple of videos about how difficult it is to remove the carburetor. Some people disassembling the frame. What I found worked is a ratchet strap, because really the hard part isn't getting it out, it's putting it back in. And with the ratchet strap, you just strap it back against the intake side on the boot, the air boot, and keeps the rubber compressed enough that you can just push it back into place. So first we're going to shut off the fuel to the tank, and we're going to drain the carburetor. Also, just off screen here, I am detaching the transfer from the tank to the carb and draining that. There's not very much. I've got a piece of cardboard below the bike to catch anything, but most of it goes into this Tupperware. Next, we remove the seat with the number 6 hex key. And two 10mm bolts holding the rear of the tank on. Next, the two fairing bolts that attach the front of the tank to the radiator. You only have to remove the lower two. You do not have to remove all the cowling. These are 8mm. Next, we'll remove the oil overflow and take off the throttle cables. We just loosen off the stopper nut, and I use my Gerber multi-tool, and I can just get the needle nose in there, grab the very tip of the cable where the plug is, and you can kind of twist it out, first one side then the other. Next, we're taking off the airbox cover and disconnecting the connection and feeding that through the frame. Unscrew both the fuel side of the carburetor rubber manifold and then the air side of the carburetor. On the air side, there is a C-clip that goes around the entire boot, and you want to take that out, being careful not to deform it too much, because we'll be reusing it. So here you can see, once everything's disconnected, you simply turn the carburetor 90 degrees and give it a twisting motion, and it'll pop free of the forward manifold, or what is that, rubber housing? I could find the manual, but you know what I mean. You know the thing. Anyways, you twist it and it comes right out. No problem. Here I am simply taking the carb apart and putting in the jets. The actual JD instructions that come with the JD jet kit say to put the clip in position 4. I'm at sea level, and so, but it doesn't actually display which is the correct ring. So number 4 is the lower side of the needle. Okay, and because this video isn't really about the jet kit, I'm just kind of zipping through here, but you're just replacing the main jet, the idle jet, and the needle. The one thing here is, while you have the carburetor apart, you can check the float level, And the way to do that is hold it on an angle so that the tip of the needle is just being touched by the bowl stop, and kind of just hold it there. And what you want to see is that the float seam is level with the bowl housing. You can see here that I'm just holding it on an angle. It's a very simple thing to adjust. All right, so now we've got the carburetor out. I obviously have the Tusk pannier rack, and I've got the carabiner that I can clip to the rack itself. And on the other side of the bike, you can see that I'm feeding the ratchet strap for the flat webbing through over the baffle for the air intake to the carb. And you can see here that it's being compressed once I tighten that ratchet strap. Okay, so once that is compressed, I'm going to put the carb back in the way we took it out at a 90-degree angle. And what you can't see here is the top of the front baffle, or the front rubber manifold gasket. The manifold has a slot, and you need to make sure that it's seated properly. If you have a loose connection on either side of the carb, it's going to cause vacuum issues. You want to have it totally sealed. Okay, once you've got the carburetor back in position and securely set in the correct position for the front manifold or baffle, then you can remove the ratchet strap just by pulling it through and getting it into the correct position on the back side of the carburetor. Okay, once the carb's back in place, you're going to feed the C-clip that we removed and feed it over the air intake side, and making sure that the screw can thread down into the C-clip. I'm using the tire irons to pop the rubber air side manifold back over the backside of the carb and tightening everything up. Once it's in place, then we can reconnect the throttle cables, making sure that we close the drain screw and reconnecting the wiring. Right, well, yeah, and at some point I will actually be taking the bike off-road, but like I said before, this bike has taken a while to get up to speed, but I went for a test drive. The jet kit is amazing. Great pickup, no problem. More than anything though, this was originally to resolve the hard start issue. And if you're chasing carb problems and you're having a hard start, check the shims for the cam lifters. All right, so, well, I hope it saves you time. I will be putting together a video about the cam, or the lifting shims. I just didn't record it, but it's fairly straightforward if you have the manual, and it's also a good chance to check the timing. In the meantime, maintain those perimeters.